Alrighty. Well, a completely unplanned, spontaneous live stream. Didn't announce it anywhere, so hopefully somebody will jump in and we can have some fun, right? So I'll give that a minute while I take a sip of my coffee, and let's see if any of you are around. And it seems so. We got 3 people jumping in just now. All right, we're at 11. Cool. 17. Nice. Okay, guys. Well, this is going to be a complete open Q&A. Anything you want to know, right? Hey, Devin. Anything you want to know about 3D, any questions about the gaming industry, the movie industry, software, hardware, what it's like to be a freelance artist, business stuff, anything and everything, right? If you want to know what my dog's name is, whatever, yeah? Hey, there you go. Hi, Alice. Yeah, okay. So like I said, completely unscheduled, completely spontaneous. Yeah, just jumped in and let's do this, right? Can you guys let me know if you can hear me okay and see me okay? Hey, Nestor. The name of my dog. Okay, there you go. Well, my dog's name is Denver, as in Colorado, Denver. Cool. So here's your chance, guys. Anything you want to know. Okay, cool. Audio seems okay. So yeah, questions, guys. Let me know. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about whatever, right? What is the technique to model any complex model? Well, it's a pretty good question. Okay, well, if I am asked or want to make something complex, what I typically do first is I get references, of course, right? So I will take a bunch of photographs, I will look online, I will find whatever visual information I can get, right? Then based on that, I'll start to figure out if it's something that's constructed like a machine or a vehicle or whatever, how it is put together. I think that's very important because that will give you a much better sense of, where you need to start, how you need to connect things and so forth. Now, based on how detailed it has to be, you can decide on whether you're going to do a blockout stage or not. So what I would do is I would make sure I got proper references. Then I would do a blockout stage, so very super low poly, to get a sense of the volume, the ratios, the scales, and all that, right? And then from there, I'm going to break it down into small pieces and kind of analyze them from there, right? So make them piece by piece and start to bring the whole thing together. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. Let's see. Is there a future? Okay. So basically, you're asking whether there's a future as a 3D modeler. I assume. Yeah. I think there is for sure, and I get this question all the time. And every time I do a live stream, I get the same question. People seem to think there's no future there because everything's automated, and with the photometry and all the advances going on, there wouldn't be a job, right? Now, why do I disagree? For the simple reason that the job of a 3D artist is to translate a vision or a story into something that is visual, right? Let's say you are working for a gaming company. Let's say you're working for a movie studio, or let's say you're working on a car commercial. Doesn't matter, right? In all these situations, there's a story to tell. The story of the movie, the story of the game, or maybe the story of, hey, we got the best car in the world, you need to buy our car. It's your job to translate that story. No way there's going to be a machine or an automated process to do so. There's going to be, there's going to be software that will make the process different for sure. But that's why it's so important to not just focus on the technical aspect of modeling, but much more the storytelling aspects, the composition, the lighting, the mood setting, color technology, all that kind of stuff, right? Let me know if that answers your question. Let's see. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, everything. What's the model? Hey, Mike. Hey, Sanjeev. How are you? Is there a future? Okay, we did that. Is learning Unreal Engine good for getting a job in gaming industry as a gaming artist? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's all I can say about it. How much could one earn being a 3D modeler? That is kind of an open question, because it depends on what you do with those skills. If you work for a studio, it's different than if you're working freelance, and it's different than if you are selling models online, right? On average, very much depending on where you live, what country you live, what level you're at, what your age is, and all that, I would say, let me take the US for an example, right? Because I don't know all the wages world round. In the US, I would say the lowest as a junior artist, a fresher just starting out, maybe 18, 19,000 a year. The highest that I heard of for somebody working at a studio, I would say 120, 130,000. And then there's way higher and way lower, depending on what you're doing, right? Let's see. Can you be a freelancer for game studios? Yes, absolutely. And in fact, being a freelance artist is kind of becoming more the norm, I would say, for the simple reason that studios can't afford to have you on the payroll all the time. So what they tend to do is they hire people on a project basis. If they're working on a movie for the next 2 years, they hire you for 2 years, the movie's done, you're out of a job. That's kind of how it works, right? They will have kind of a base crew of a number of people that will expand during projects and then, shrink down when the project is done. If you're a freelance artist, you can be hired by a studio to be one of those added on artists, right? And the cool thing is you can then actually work for multiple studios at the same time to kind of leverage your income and make sure that once that project is done, you're not out of a job or out of money, okay? Let's see. Any tutorials on Bifrost graphs? Not yet. I'm planning on doing that. I did some regular Bifrost videos, but not graphs yet, okay? How can we do some magic with our models baking glitches? Well, first of all, I would be interested to know what software you're using for your bakes, okay? Okay, I would really want to get into animation, but graphs are a little confusing for me. Any tips for that? Yeah, it's actually not that complicated once you understand, but that applies to everything, right? Basically, when you're looking at a control that you're animating, right? You have an X, Y, and Z, as you always have in 3D, okay? Now, if you have a control with an X, Y, and Z motion range, then there are a couple of things you can do. You can scale, which typically doesn't apply to a control in animation, but you can rotate and you can move, okay? So what you're doing in your graph is you're saying, okay, this is my starting point, frame 1, this is frame 2. I'm going to rotate from frame 1 to frame 2. Now, if you don't do anything to that curve, it's going to be a pretty rigid movement, but maybe you want to phase in and phase out. So by manipulating those controls in that graph, you kind of can smooth into it and smooth out of it, right? So think of each control as having a couple of sets, a set where you have translation and a set where you have rotation. And yeah, that's how that works. One line for X, one for Z, one for Y, and then a set of 3 for rotation, a set of 3 for translation. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, all right, want to go, okay. How to switch from freelance and to, let's see, I'm trying to understand what you're saying here. How to switch from freelance and to produce knowledge. Okay, I'm not sure if you're asking how to get out of freelance and into a production environment or the other way around. Do you want to become freelance or do you no longer want to be freelance? Excuse me. Have you ever considered the videos on using CAD software like Fusion? I have not, for the simple reason that I originally started out as a mechanical engineer, but I kind of walked away from that. So, and it's kind of a different ball game. I typically focus on game stuff, movie stuff, and commercial stuff, not necessarily towards CAD environments. Do I make tutorials on Blender? I did one, right? And I then very fast after that, very soon after that, I decided not to do that anymore because it's simply not my thing, right? And there are tons of videos out there for people that do that. It's not my software, okay? Is it good to take basic shapes first for a complex model and do the detailing? Yes, absolutely. By blocking out a model, you, first of all, don't waste any time because you can do a really quick setup, right? And then you can decide whether the proportions are right, whether the scaling is right, whether that's all okay. And then you start replacing those blocked pieces into more detailed pieces, okay? So Nestor is saying, what's the best online university to learn animation? First of all, and this is, I need to be really careful saying this. I think animation is something you need to learn from an animator, right? So you need to get as much personal one-on-one time with that person as possible. You can learn animation to a certain point, so the technical aspects, how it works, how the graph editor works, how the controls work, how you do all that, right? But once you really want to get good into animating, you absolutely need to have some type of mentor, right? The difference between a good animator and a great animator is the ability to make a 3D model look real. So human expressions. That involves a lot of things that are not necessarily related to 3D. I mean, it's observing people, it's watching movies, it's looking at micro expressions and all that kind of stuff, and then try to incorporate that into your models. What the best online university is depends on your budget, depends on what type of animation you want to learn, depends on so many things, right? One thing I can say is the GNOME, is that how you write that? Hang on, I'm just going to write it down here. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's kind of a thing online where you have a bunch of really talented people. They put all sorts of educational stuff online. You pay a certain fee a month, and then you have access to all of it. And that's a really good start, I would say. I know they're legit. I know they're solid, and they have good quality stuff, right? Okay, can I do a tutorial on product animation with an explode effect? I did several videos on that and several techniques as well. Balls smashing through walls, cars crashing, all that kind of stuff, yeah? Best software for gaming, I would say Unreal Engine for the most part. Have I ever tried being a rigging guy in a studio before? Okay, I know how to rig to a certain point. I mean, as far as you would know as a generalist, rigging is quite difficult to master, right? And yeah. So I know a little bit. I would never pursue something like that full time because it's really hard to get into. Let's see, GNOME and Laguna Beach are good schools. Yeah, I agree. How do I make my portfolio better? Okay, so that's a good question. A lot of people think that the best portfolio is the one where you put all your stuff, right? So you make a model, put it on your portfolio. The more stuff's on there, the better the portfolio, right? No, not at all. It's important to understand what your portfolio is for. Basically, your portfolio is your resume, right? At least if you want to get hired. So who is looking at your portfolio? Potential employers, maybe art directors, maybe studio owners. And what they want to know is not only what your output is, but what is your process? How do you work? How fast or how slow do you work? How detailed do you work? What software do you use? What is your thought process? Do you use references? Do you use concept art? Can you create concept art? All of these questions. What I usually see on ArtStation is final renders. What you would include is wireframe images. You would include UV maps. You would include maybe different map setups. You would include your bakes, and you would kind of explain your process. Now, that's only the technical aspect, but what adds a lot of value for you as an artist for a studio is the fact that you add more value than just your 3D work. The question I get all the time is, how can I compete with somebody living in a country where they're asking $7 for a model if I have to ask $200 for a model, right? There's no way to compete. Now, that's not true, because there are other things that you can offer that have value that have nothing to do with 3D. If you speak the language, if you live locally, if you're trustworthy, if you are a proven professional, if you're respectful, if you understand their business, if you have a creative mind, all of these different things add value to you as a 3D artist, where an art director might decide to hire somebody local at 200 bucks for a model instead of somebody across the world for $7, because they need to be 100% sure that it's done on time. They need to be sure that they trust who they're talking to and all that. Yeah. So reflect all of that stuff in your portfolio, and it will make your portfolio much better. So if you have references, people that you worked for, write something down in your portfolio. If you contributed to a game that has been released or a movie that has been released, write that down. It builds your credibility. Okay. Let's see. Any plans for Unreal tutorials in the future? No, I do not. For the simple reason that I'm not typically a game guy, and I wouldn't say working in Unreal doesn't make you an artist, but it's a whole different thing. Okay. Drawing skills really required for 3D artists? No. Drawing skills are not required for a 3D artist. However, understanding drawing principles is very important for a 3D artist. So you don't have to actually be able to draw yourself, because you're not drawing as a 3D artist. But you need to understand things like perspective and composition and lighting and all that. People that learn technical drawing skills learn about all of this, right? It will make you a better artist for sure. So the good thing is you don't have to be able to actually draw, but get a book on, force perspective, on 2-point, 3-point perspective, on composition theory, on color theory, that kind of stuff, right? How is it possible to get into the gaming industry if you're not from a gaming hub? I basically just told you. It's about having a good portfolio, but also about being able to build a proper network. And that starts with a good portfolio. Go into relevant groups on social media and contribute. Don't go into a group and say, hey, will somebody hire me, because they'll kick you out in a second, right? What you're going to do is you're going to go into a group, be consistent, add value to that group, comment on people's posts, be respectable, be professional, because like I said, there you go. And then you start to build relationships with people. Somebody owns a studio, or somebody knows somebody who owns a studio, and that's how that works. Okay. Let's see. 3D environment artists or 3D concept artists? Who is more demand and more pay? Well, let me put it this way. A 3D concept artist is basically a 2D artist, right? You're a digital artist, but for the most part, you work in 2D. Some concept artists use 3D as well, but for a lot of things, it's 2D, which basically means that your business opportunities are much bigger, because you can work for a lot of industries outside of the 3D industry with the same, knowledge. 3D environments, however, are very, very cool. Problem there is, I just talked about the automated idea behind environments, right? And environments like urban environments, jungles or whatnot, these can be fairly easy they can be automated to an extent, right? So if I were to have to bet on which of these two has the brightest future, I would definitely say concept artists, right? But it's even better if you know both. Okay, let's see. I see a really cool little green square with MH in there, which means that I'm dealing with a channel member, and I always like that. And wow, thank you so much. Super chat donation there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so the question is, I need an asset manager for Maya. Do you mean a software package to manage your assets, or are you talking about a physical person that will manage your assets for you? Let me know, okay? Okay, so Alpha Beast, please do me a favor and, okay. Come on. I answered your question. You just got banned. Sorry, buddy. Just gonna get rid of you. Okay. There's no need to repeat everything 50 times. That's kind of rude. Okay. All right. Forger 47 just come to say hi. Oh, that's awesome. Hi, buddy. All right. So where are we at? Just got distracted here for a second with all that rubbish. Yep. Okay. Oops. Okay, let's get back here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, cool. Can you get into, I assume you're talking about architectural visualization with knowing Maya, or do you need to learn 3ds Max? I would say most studios in that area work with 3ds Max. But that said, if you have knowledge of Maya and you are decent in Maya, you should be able to learn 3ds Max in 2-3 days, right? Let's see. Manchmallow. Okay, that's original. This year I will graduate in 3D animation and VFX. I couldn't do any internship in a studio because of the corona pandemic. Do you have any advice to get connected with studios in time like this? Okay. What type of internship are you looking for? I know a studio owner that owns a game studio, and they are looking for an intern. So what you're going to do is send me an email to this address. There you go. And I'll get you in contact with him. Yeah. Okay, what else? 3Dniator. That's so cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's, just to comment on that. First of all, I really appreciate that. Second, what I like best about, doing these live streams and these videos on YouTube and whatnot, and I've been doing them for 8 years, right, is to hear back from people that watched my videos 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and then they get back to me and say, hey, I've been working for the studio for the last couple of years. I started off watching your videos, and that's just the coolest thing ever, right? So thank you so much. Let me go up a little bit. Let's see if I can. Ooh, a lot of stuff going on there. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'm up here. Okay, you said you're focusing work on commercials, movie, games. What kind of work have you done in these industries? Oh, I've done a lot of things. I did prop modeling for a kids show on BBC television. I did models for the toy industry. I did medical simulations. I did scientific simulations. I worked for industrial clients, so product renderings, jewelry renderings. I do a lot of consultancy for individual 3D artists or freelance artists or studios to improve their portfolio, to improve their work. I've worked for commercials related to printers, related to phones. As far as movies are concerned, I worked for a sub-team for Pixar. I made assets for game studios. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Let's see. Time with having a mountain certain before deciding to attempt to model. Hang on, let's see. And in time without having to have a mountain of material before deciding to attempt to model. Okay, Forger 47, please explain what you're asking. I don't understand, sorry. Kunal, hi Mike, I'm following you for a long time. I have a question. Okay, ask your question. Who's my favorite rapper? Eminem. Sorry. Okay, does my work more stable in Linux? I don't know, because I don't use Linux. I know that Linux in general is supposed to be more stable, so. Okay, Kunal, let's see. I'm working as a prop artist. Whenever I get new prop, I get nervous. How to overcome this? Okay, so usually when you kind of get nervous, it's probably because you're kind of like, okay, how do I approach this model, right? Keep in mind how complex the model may be, even if you get like a complete spaceship or whatever, right? Just make everything small and write down your process, okay? So break it down into little pieces and just make a checklist for yourself. And I follow the same process for every model I ever do, whether it's organic or hard surface or whatever, right? Get proper reference material, understand the subject, if it's an existing one. If it's a fantasy thing, then try to get references, right? But get as much knowledge about the model as possible. But most important is whoever asks you to make a prop, ask them, what is the story the prop is telling? Because does a prop tell a story? Oh, yes, it does. It has to fit a certain style in a game or in a movie. It has to, it's part of a scene. It has to, you know, tell that story as well. The better you understand the story that it needs to tell, the better you understand the style it needs to be in, and the better you understand, you know, how it should be constructed, then it starts to make sense in your head and you become less nervous. Okay. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So I completely agree with Alice. Please don't spam. If you do a whole bunch of repeats, then that's the quickest way to get out of here. Okay. Working as a prop. Okay. We saw that. Okay. Forger. One of the best learning aspects you have taught me is being able to build without direct representations like a car, etc. If you can model a car off the top of your head, you're potentially a good artist. Well, from a technical aspect, absolutely. I do a lot of my videos where I don't use any reference, right? Now, that's what it looks like. But what I do is I study the reference beforehand. And when I start modeling, I put them aside. So I don't look at the reference while I'm modeling. Now, everybody always says, yeah, but you should work with a reference. And when I'm working for a client, I certainly do that. The reason why I model something without a reference is to train my vision and my memory. Can I look at an object, let's say a chair, and can I model that chair without any reference and still get the proportions right, and so forth? That is a training method that allows you to work much, much quicker. Because even if you are working with reference, sometimes references are not correct. Or you get a question from a client to model something that doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, you don't have a reference, right? So that's why I do that. But thank you, by the way. Descartes Video. Is it possible to land a good job at a studio if you start 3D at late age, 28? As most of the portfolio matters, how will I catch up on people who started 3D in their teenage years? First of all, 28 is not old at all. I know people that started in their 40s, in their 50s, and even in their 60s, right? So no worries about that. Let me tell you something here, and you might agree with me or not. The couple of things that will make you, there are kind of three things that will make you an artist, right? Excuse me. Just gonna some water here. Okay. So, number one is technical skill. What does that mean? Knowing where the buttons are in Maya, knowing where the buttons are in 3ds Max or whatever software you're using, okay? What happens when I click here? What happens when I do that? What's the shortcut and so forth? So the technical process of 3D modeling, you can start from scratch and know absolutely nothing and be at a level where you will be hired by a studio within a time frame of 2 years if you're passionate about it, right? But that's only the technical aspect. The second aspect is your creative ability to translate a concept into a believable story that will reach the intended audience, okay? For that, it's important, and maybe you're going to agree with me and maybe not, but it's important that you have a life experience, because typically the older you get, the more life experience you have, right? If I were asked, I don't know, what does someone look like who's upset, right? Now, I'm old as dirt, right? So I've seen many people in my life that were upset. If you're 15, maybe you've seen way, way less, right? So my visual impression of somebody that's upset is probably clearer than yours. So it doesn't mean necessarily that if you're older, you got more life experience, but typically that's the case, right? So you got the technical aspect, software, hardware, all the buttons. You got the creative aspect of, being able to translate that into a story. And then finally, you have your life experience that will help you to interact with clients and also understand what they want because you've been around for a while and so forth. So are you too old? No, not at all. Okay. Let's see. Hi, I won't stay long, but I just wanted to tell you that I'm a French student in my first year of digital 3D drawing, and your views helped me a lot. Thanks, man. Well, merci beaucoup. And that's about all the French I know. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm about to finish my VFX course. I'm interested in specializing in modeling. So how much hours should I spend in a day to become a pro in modeling? Well, if your definition of pro is somebody that earns money, basically, if you can model a crate and sell it online for $2, technically speaking, you're a pro, right? I know that's not what you mean. If you are really fanatical about it and you spend, I would say, 6-7 hours a day at a minimum, I don't know, 2 years, something like that. And I'm talking 7 days a week, right? I mean, if you really want to be good, but the big problem here is doing something for a long time doesn't necessarily make you good, right? People will say, I've been driving a car for 50 years. That you can still be a lousy driver, right? So it's not about how long you do something. It's about how dedicated you are, how precise you are, and how good you are at, adopting knowledge and putting that into things, yeah? Let's see. Okay, the prop question, we did that. Let's see. Jay Travers saying, fair enough for not using CAD. The only reason I mentioned is besides some top artists have been able to utilize Fusion 3D. Oh, I mean, let me be clear here. There is definitely a market for Fusion software and so forth. Absolutely. It's just not what I'm into, right? I'm not bashing it or anything. It's absolutely solid software, but it's more, I would say, for industrial applications. Yeah. Okay. Can I say you should use presets? Okay, let me address that as a more general question. Presets and, let's say, plugins, okay? Now, a lot of people, they do plugins and they say, oh man, this is so cool and so fast and I want this plugin and all that, right? Cool. Now, you are working freelance, you get hired by some client and they say, hey, you need to work at our office behind one of our systems using our Maya for legal reasons, for intellectual property reasons, for copyright reasons, for whatever reason. And suddenly you want to do the thing you always do with your plugin, and you don't have your plugin. And now you're basically screwed, right? So although plugins are nice, always understand what you're doing and always be able to do it without the plugin. Same thing with presets. A preset or a plugin is something like a light switch. You hit the button, the light goes on, but you have no idea how that happens, right? If the light switch is not working, you're in the dark. If you're in a client situation like that, you are going to get really nervous really fast. Trust me. Okay. Let's see. Danny is saying, for the rookies like me, there's any place to have feedback that is already in industry, portfolio review, any website or something, any place to have a mentorship, paying an amount of money. Okay. I'll do you one better. I'll give you a location where you can get all of that for absolutely free, right? Hang on one sec. Okay, so I'm going to post a link down here. And this is a link to my personal MH Tutorials Hangout group on Facebook, right? Well over 4,000 artists in there. We got art directors, we got producers, we got 3D artists, we got Disney people, we got Pixar people, we got all of it, right? The thing about this group is, and I made this really clear from day one, and this group has been around for 6 years or so, people treat you with the utmost respect, whether you have 1 hour experience or 40 years experience, right? Respect is key. So if you want to start building your network, interacting with people that can give you feedback and so on, please join that group, okay? Alrighty, let's see, we did that. Integrity above all else, absolutely. I agree 100%. You might think that there are a lot of artists out there. The 3D world is very, very small. I have seen people join 3D modeling challenges, right? Where they would take a base of a character that they got online for free and they would kind of tweak it, right? People always find out. Don't pass off other people's work as yours, because you will kill your career. I don't care whether you have a bachelor degree, a master degree. I don't care if you've been working for Pixar or whatever. If you do that one time, you're basically done, right? So don't do that. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. What's my day job? Okay. Well, my day job is basically what I'm doing, right? So what do? I work as a consultant for 3D studios, for companies, industrial companies, any type of company that has a digital workflow where they need some sort of visualization for whatever they're doing, right? Whether it's a movie, whether it's a game, whether it's a product design, whether it's a technical company that wants a digital workflow, I will help them to set that up. I will help them to make that more efficient and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of related to my business background. Then in addition, I work as a freelance artist where I work for clients, either individually or together with other artists. I do stuff, like I said, for the toy industry, movie industry, game industry, and all that. Then I do my YouTube videos, of course, which is not really work. It's mostly, well, I get some gas money from YouTube and that, but you guys get to watch the videos all for free. I don't charge anything for that. And then, yeah, that's basically it. That fills my days for sure. Let's see what else. Okay. I have some problem. I'm using default Arnold render in Maya. When I render sequence, it appears rendering complete, but when I open file, it's not. Okay. All right. Are you okay? So you say render sequences. So I assume you were talking about batch rendering. You're rendering around animation, right? What you need to do is look in your render settings under batch rendering to make sure you defined the sequence, okay? Because if you're rendering frame 1 to, let's say, frame 300, have you identified that as 1 to 300? And also have you identified the path where it should be saved, okay? Let's see. Arnold Maya takes too much time to render an interior. Okay. Render time. I did a video on Arnold rendering, but render time is heavily influenced by things like caustics and things like light, right? So things like, for example, depending on the use, light baking can save you a lot of time. Render passes can save you a lot of time, and of course, the settings itself. Yeah. Okay, Kunal, this question about you getting nervous about new props, I addressed that question and you asked it like 7 times since. Please don't do that, okay? How do I learn motion graphics? Well, if you are learning motion graphics combined with 3D, then I would definitely consider the motion graphics options in Maya. So Mash, for example. Other than that, I'm not a motion graphics artist, but I would definitely consider After Effects. Okay. 3Dneator, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mike knows stuff. Well, yeah, I know stuff, but I also know a lot of. I don't know a lot of stuff, right? There's always new things to learn, and I've been at this for a long time. It's key to always learn new things. And also, really important, don't try to compete with others, try to compete with yourself. It really doesn't matter what somebody else is doing, right? It matters that you improve yourself compared to yesterday. And as long as you learn something new every day, you will grow as an artist. There's always going to be people better. There's always going to be people, that are not at your level. That's fine. Focus on your own career, focus on your own work, and you'll get there. Okay, let's see here. Full day employment or self-employment? Which fits you best and why? Well, first of all, I'm self-employed and I am exclusively self-employed. I literally can't work for a boss, right? And this is the case for a lot of 3D artists. People with a creative mind have a very hard time being told, by a boss, you need to do it this way and that way, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that makes it a bit difficult. But yeah, for me, it's definitely self-employed. Other people might not want to do it that way because, it can be very stressful. Where's my next project coming from? Will I be able to make money on time? What about my mortgage? Blah, 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 right? But for me, I love being self-employed. It's hard. It takes a while for you to get to the point where you can actually do this full time, but I would never go back, right? Which one is the brightest future and is most profitable? 3D artists, VFX artists. Okay. I don't blame you guys for asking questions about what's most profitable, but keep in mind, if you are in the 3D industry to make a lot of money, then switch jobs right now, because a 3D artist is probably one of the hardest ways possible to make a living, right? There are many, many ways to make a lot more money, way easier, right? Become a sales guy or something. And the payment is not always money. It can always, for me, it's the flexibility, it's the creative aspect, the fact that I get to plan my own time during the day. If I don't want to work today, I don't, right? I go out and walk my dog in the woods. This just means that I have to work harder tomorrow. That's fine. That's the flexibility you have, right? Is it about money? No. I mean, when I was in business wearing a suit and tie, I made a lot more money than I do now, right? But I'm much happier right now, and that's worth a lot too. Okay, let me see, guys. Where are we at? Okay. Okay, we got some time left here. Which ones? Okay, we did that one. What's the role of a generalist? Well, exactly what you think it is. You do generic things, right? You do basically whatever you are asked to do at the level that you are capable of doing. Okay. Oh. Yeah. That guy just put a box near my front door there. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see. Seems that the stream is delayed. Sorry about that, guys. Can I teach you how to pull the women? The women. I have no idea what that means. Can you please share your experience in the toy industry and how one can start in that area? Well, it's purely by chance in my case because they approached me. But when it comes to toy development, again, like everything, it's a matter of getting into the relevant social media groups. If there are groups of toy enthusiasts, right, or toy manufacturers or whatever, become part of that group and ask questions and show your work and so forth. And it's just building a network, right? Yeah, so I got that in that industry by chance, and I must say it's really cool because there are a lot of creative people there. Can a game developer also work as an FX artist in movies? Sure. I mean, you're going to need a completely different skill set, but why not? Could I suggest beginner 3D modeling learner? If you're talking about tutorials, I would suggest, yeah, I would suggest you, yeah, sorry, I'm just confused here for a sec. I would suggest you check out my channel. So I'm trying to figure out what to do about the delay. So what I'm going to do here, and sorry for the people that that asked all these questions, I'm going to go way down to the bottom here. Sorry about that. And I'm going to try to catch up with the latest questions so people can follow along a little bit better, right? Okay, so again, sorry for those who posed the question. If you really want to answer, post it again. But I'll start with this one here. Okay. Let's see. Just trying to look at the questions here to see what's what, guys. Okay, so Incubator saying that he has basically a problem with modeling anything other than a sword. That's a problem, right? And what I would suggest is that you start with really simple things. Now, the big problem here is when people start in 3D, what they do is they want to get to the cool stuff as quick as possible, right? So what they do is they make really complex models that from a technical standpoint are just very, very wrong, right? They got all sorts of issues with it. And what I would suggest is to focus on simple things like a crate and a ball and whatever, right? Just to understand what's what and how it works, okay? And then move from there. Exactly, like, you know, start with a table and then a chair and then move on to the rest. If you don't know how to model a tabletop, don't try to model a car, right? And that's just the way it is. Let's see, I'd like to hear your opinion on whether students who want to be a character modeler should include works of existing characters or should stick to original characters in their portfolios. I would do both. The reason why is one, so you can show to potential employers that you are able to follow somebody else's style, right? Because if they have a group of artists creating a certain style and you get hired on a project basis, you need to be able to follow that style, right? So that's why I would take existing characters. The reason why I would do original characters is to show off your creativity, yeah? Yeah, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I can't understand how to perfect with, didn't understand, sorry. You're a 3D beginner and you're 10 years old. Wow, that's really impressive. I would suggest you check my videos on my channel because they are typically focused on people that are very new. And if you are an English speaker, that shouldn't be a problem. Nobody's hiring fresher people after a pandemic. Well, it's not just the pandemic. What's happening is people are kind of nervous to hire anyone for any reason because of the financial consequences. So what most studios do now is they will offer you an internship, usually with a small pay, right? So you get an internship and you get maybe $300-400 a month, but it's kind of like an extended trial period to figure out if you're a good fit. And then from there, they will hire you or not. So instead of you looking for a job 6 months, right, not making a penny, why not work as an intern for 6 months, making a little bit of money, but getting way better chances of getting hired, right? Okay. No modeling. Do I have to know modeling and ethics to be a comp artist? I know Nuke. I already 3 composed with some help. Okay. So if you are strictly a node-based comp artist, you technically don't have to, although I would definitely advise you to learn the basics, because you will be working with people that think that way. And if you don't understand the language, it's going to be hard to work with them, right? At what level could you try applying for 3D jobs? Who, you or me? Let's see. Thanks so much, Danny. Appreciate that. I'm gonna get a nice cup of coffee for that. Pretty cool. Let's see. Okay. Justin, I'm from Canada. Hey, go Canada. So am I. You know that, right? I've been working on a sci-fi short. What's the best way to release it to the public and submit to critics? Once again, go into a relevant social media group. Make sure you contribute on a regular basis. People will start to know you. You share your work. You ask feedback. You ask them to share it for you and so forth. You make a LinkedIn profile. You make an ArtStation portfolio. Get it out there all the time. Yeah? With love from Russia. That sounds like a James Bond movie. Thank you so much. I have a question. Why don't you have interest to create AAA assets from... Okay. Why I don't have interest... Okay, let me explain that. It's a good question. Okay. And this is something that I've kind of been, I would say, struggling with, right? And I'd love your opinion on this. Okay, so I make tutorials, 3D tutorials, yeah? A bunch of people out there that do the same thing. Problem is this, though, yeah? What I do is I try to give knowledge to people that are new to the industry, how to do this, how to do that, how to do so and so, right? So what I'll do is I'll find the simplest way possible to get that message across, because why make it complicated, right? It's just, adding difficulty. So let's say I want to explain how a bend deformer works. I'll take a super simple object, apply a bend deformer, and then I'll explain, this is what a bend deformer does, right? Fair enough. What a lot of YouTubers do is they make really super fancy, fast movies, and they make super complicated stuff. And it's kind of like, hey, look at me, right? The thing is, I don't make videos for myself. I make videos for you guys. The whole thing is my videos are supposed to be educational, not as entertainment like, PewDiePie or whatever. A lot of 3D channels are not tutorials. They are, showing off stuff, if you know what I mean, right? And I really want to keep on making tutorials. Problem is, more and more people don't want to learn new things. They just want to sit back, relax, and see a whole bunch of stuff flying around on the screen, right? And it's been hurting my channel, to be honest, right? I'm very much pressured to, basically make bullshit, if you know what I mean, right? And I can do that. I can make videos that will get me 10 times more views, easy, right? But I don't want to go there because that's what everybody's doing, and it's going to be, all the quality will be lost. So, yeah. Hey, Selena, how are you? Let's see. Hi, Mike. I studied Maya specifically, and I've been searching for a job in 3D, but all the companies are looking for people who have experience in 3ds Max, Blender, and all that. Okay. I don't necessarily agree with that. But that said, if you know how to work in Maya, you can learn how to work in Blender or in 3ds Max or both within a week, right? The principle is the same, just different buttons. So it shouldn't be a problem. What's my dog's name? Well, his name is Denver. Sir Crimson learned 3ds Max first and then moved on to Maya for fun. It was a lot easier to learn a program from scratch because of my past experience. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, oh yeah, there are tons of videos on Blender. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't do Blender videos. Initially, I thought about it when Autodesk decided to no longer have a student license and everything became really expensive and a whole bunch of people ran towards Blender. And I typically do Maya videos. I thought, okay, well, now what? The thing is, though, there always will be people using Maya, including myself. And for them, I will be making videos. And I make videos with other stuff as well, not just Maya. But Maya is my base, I would say, for 3D stuff. Also ZBrush, Substance Painter, Marvelous Designer, and all that. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We'll do another 5 minutes or so. Okay. Okay. Videos are super helpful. Great, amazing. Start to learn. Thank you so much. Kev Dillon. Is there a way to add an IK handle in Maya from an imported mesh from DAZ 3D? Yeah, if you, I don't know DAZ 3D exactly, but I assume you're talking about importing an existing character or something. You just create a new rig system and you put it in IK handle. That's all. Let's see, 3ds Max, Maya, Blender. What would I advise learning first? Kind of depends on what you want to do. 3ds Max, a lot of people use that for interior design, architectural visualization, and that kind of stuff. Maya is typically used for people that are more into the movie and gaming industry. Blender is kind of more generalistic, I would say. Okay, I'm running behind again because the questions are going quite fast. Let me know if I'm out of sync. Okay. Are there trends in the animation industry? Okay. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, one sec. Yes. Trends in the animation industry. The trend right now is micro expressions, right? So we had this whole thing in the movie industry. We got all the Marvel movies and the Avengers and all that stuff, right? And from the first 5 seconds in the movie, you got 375 explosions and you got people flying around and it's just all over the place, right? So now they're turning it down. It's becoming less is more. So instead of huge movements and huge gestures, it's really small micro expressions, which is very hard to do for an animator. And if you are able to do that, you're going to find a job for sure. Yeah. What do I mean by micro expressions? Just in case you don't know, a little twitch of the eye, you know, somebody fiddling their nose like that, small gestures. Yeah. Let's see. Is it recommended to have full texture models in your portfolio? If you can do that, absolutely. What do you think the most common renderer is nowadays? I would say most used is probably Arnold because a lot of people are doing that. But Redshift is really good. Corona, yeah, that's a renderer. It's pretty good. RenderMan, Pixar's RenderMan for sure. Yeah. Let's see, Devin, what kind of jobs can I get knowing only 3D modeling? Well, I assume with 3D modeling, you also mean, you know, texturing, or do you mean just modeling? And in that case, I would say maybe an internship, right? What about making paid courses? I bought one from Chris Plush and I was very happy about the results. Well, the thing is, I don't want to ask money for my videos. I pledged when I started doing this. When I started, there was really nobody around to help me with anything. And I struggled for a long time, right? So I pledged that my videos would always be free. And I'm not asking money for my videos ever, right? That's just, you know, I mean, I got a sponsor, luckily, that helps me do this. Otherwise, I couldn't. But I'm not going to ask money for my videos. If people decide to become a patron or like a channel member or a sponsor or a donator, I love that, of course. But other than that, I'm not going to ask money for my videos, okay? Okay, let's do one more question, guys. Okay. Okay, maybe two. So how about doing a showcase or a showreel of my work? Well, I don't need to because it's not about me, right? The clients that I work for, they know who I work for. I usually work with non-disclosure agreements, so I have to sign stuff that I don't share it, right? And then in addition, I would way rather see you guys have a good portfolio than me showing off my stuff, because my videos are not about me; they're about you guys. Okay. Okay, I see we got another channel member up there with the blue MH right there. You don't always do your texturing in Maya. Why is that? Well, I almost never do my texturing in Maya because it's way better when you do it in Substance Painter. Okay. All right, one more question. Okay, so as a student trying to write thesis, how to approach professionals or even you for questions? That's simple. Send me an email. MikeHermes@imatutorials.com. Send me an email and I'll help you, right? Okay. All right, guys, that's it for me. I could go on for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, but I can't because I also have to work and make money and that kind of stuff. So over 90 folks were on the live stream here. That's absolutely awesome. I love you all to bits. I hope you're all safe and stay safe. I'll be doing more live streams in the future. Please check out my videos. Hit that notification thing, whatever. And I have to say this, guys, and I just explained to you why. If you guys decide to become a channel member on my channel, you get access to my videos before everybody else. But more importantly, you get access to playback these live streams, right? And these live streams are only available once they're done to channel members and patrons. Okay, so if you want to become a channel member, check it out on my YouTube channel. It will tell you how and so forth. And then you will also get this little square colored thing with MH in it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Stay safe, please. Be creative, be skilled, and I'll talk to you next time. Okay. Bye. Bye. Okay, I'll type in that email address. Hang on. Okay, guys, that's it for me.